Story 1. I got divorced last year, but I don't find my ex-wife attractive anymore because I realized she's a bad person. Physically, she looks fine, but I just don't find bad people attractive. Story 2. Being miserable all the time, constantly finding something to complain about, never happy and trying to kill the mood of everyone around her. She is not happy unless everyone else is miserable. No matter how rough you have it, she has a worse day. Story 3. She wants to be a stay-at-home wife, but I do all the cooking, cleaning, and pet care. After a few months of coming home to a house that was filthier than I left it, and her refusing to clean up after herself, I just kind of went on autopilot. Story 4. Ever since her affair, I've grown resentful, and the little things I used to find adorable don't work on me anymore. When the special things disappear, so do the basic things. Story 5. It comes and goes with maturity, to be honest. I am currently so in love and can't get enough of her. There have been times when I've low-key hoped bad things would happen. We were rocky and toxic in the beginning. It looked like we were bipolar, but we work on it. Here's a quote that actually resonates with me and reminds me that love is alive, grows, and evolves, and that is what I want for myself, so you extend it to your loved ones. To love someone long-term is to attend 1,000 funerals of the people they used to be, the people they're too exhausted to be any longer, the people they don't recognize inside themselves anymore, the people they grew out of, the people they never ended up growing into. We so badly want the people we love to get their spark back when it burns out, to become speedily found when they are lost. But it is not our job to hold anyone accountable to the people they used to be. It is our job to travel with them between each version and to honor what emerges along the way. Sometimes it will be an even more luminescent flame. Sometimes it will be a flicker that disappears and temporarily floods the room with a perfect and necessary darkness. Heidi Priebe. Story 6. This isn't about my wife. I'm madly in love with her, and I find her extremely sexy. But with my ex, I stopped finding her attractive and fell out of love with her after we had a miscarriage. Not because of the miscarriage, but because she told me she was happy she had a miscarriage because I would have been a terrible father. She was extremely mentally abusive and manipulative. The best decision I've ever made in my life was to leave her. Story 7. Although she's gained weight, that's not a turnoff for me. It's the withholding sex and picking at her psoriasis and leaving the dead skin around the house that has kind of torpedoed it for me. Story 8. I lost attraction to my ex because she was so ditzy. She was initially very attractive and was very sweet and kind, but then the alcoholism showed up, and she started being kind of grimy about rent and money. She really drove me crazy to the point that I didn't care what she looked like anymore. She was 15 years old inside forever. Intellectually, emotionally, and consciously. It was astonishing how irresponsible and blatantly unaware, or out of touch with reality, one person could actually be. Just some examples. She told me she couldn't afford rent one month but showed up with a green wool jacket she found at an antique store from 1928, and she paid $1,300 for it. The next month she couldn't afford rent because she got Botox. She was 36 at the time. Where we lived and with our income, there shouldn't have been moments where she couldn't come up with an extra $1,000 or $2,000 in an emergency. But she never had it. She was always down to pennies by payday. Story 9. She would expect me to be responsible for her. If I could not be there to hold her hand, then she could not be bothered to do anything for herself. For example, she wanted to get into going to the gym, so she joined the same gym as me. While we did go together maybe 2 or 3 times a week, our schedules did not always line up, so I would go by myself after work. That made her upset because she refused to go without me. I understood wanting to go together, but sometimes life gets in the way and I was just trying to maintain my routine. I went with her most of the time anyway. I did not think too much about it until I got injured and had to take a couple of weeks off from the gym. Then she was basically like, "Great, now I cannot go to the gym." And all I would just say is, "Why do not you just go?" But she would not, because she thought that since it is not as fun that way, then it is just pointless. Eventually, I realized that she was like this with so many other things. If she needed something from the store, she had to wait for me to go with her. If she needed her car worked on, she had to wait for me to either get it fixed or fix it myself. If she wanted to walk downstairs to get the mail, I had to be there. I genuinely try to accompany her and support her as much as I can, but the fact that she essentially will not take on even the smallest responsibilities without me is just so unattractive. Story 10. Weight gain, lack of accountability, immaturity, self-centeredness, laziness, indecisive while somehow being argumentative at the same time. Attempting to fit into social circles and hierarchies that are not worth fitting into over every aspect of the relationship. Ungrateful, caring more about seemingly everything else on the planet over anything to do with me. There is probably more, but that is a good start. Story 11. Okay, so here's the deal. I think the right question to ask isn't this one, but the opposite. With this question, you'll have a mix of answers between men who genuinely tried their best and men who failed to show basic empathy toward their spouse. I read a lot of the answers posted here, and I want to say that the best moment to seek couple counseling was years ago, and the second best is now. Basically, from the moment you've built enough resentment to no longer be attracted, it's probably already too late. The thing I realized in my relationship with my wife is that even though I felt invested in the relationship and even though I love her deeply, I took our relationship for granted and didn't do much in terms of seduction. Then, at some point, it dawned on me. Why would she put on nice lingerie when I'm wearing the same old boxer shorts? Why would she send me playful pictures when I do nothing of the sort? What did I bring to the table? So that's one thing. The second thing is empathy. It's not something all men are taught, but it's a key skill in human relationships. Basically, the key is to understand that nobody stops caring about themselves without an underlying cause. It's not something people stop doing for no reason. It's something people stop doing because there's a cause. Help them find that cause. Relationships take emotional work, and the fact that it's generally left to women alone is often a root issue for a lot of other problems. Which brings us to the next point. Listen to them. Talk to them. Communication is key. With my wife, we've fostered a relationship in which we can talk about everything. And I mean everything. One of our latest deep conversations, of which we have many, was about how I have a huge crush on another woman. It's not the kind of talk that would have gone well a decade ago, but we've grown together and we've fostered openness over time. Breaches in communication are where betrayal and resentment grow. And those are the key elements that make me still attracted to my wife, after 17 years together and 11 years of married life. It has not been an easy ride until now, and we'll probably have difficult moments ahead too. But right now we're in the best place we've ever been. Our bodies have changed, life and health issues have happened, and we've had a long dry period too. What helped us is that I realized this woman meant a lot to me and I had to work to keep the relationship alive too. It's not something that just happens. You've got to work for it. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're not attracted to your spouse anymore, take a moment to ponder what they mean to you as a person. If you feel you want them in your life and you want to rebuild something with them, then do the work and don't overlook outside help. If you're over it and all you feel is resentment, maybe with a bit of regret, then it's time to move on. Just realize that relationships are a two-way street and learn your lesson for next time. Story 12. Never had my back in anything. Our relationship wasn't a priority, basically not being there for you. I should have realized it long ago, but I thought she could learn. It is disappointing now that I'm older and would love to have a relationship where we stand up for one another. I'm going to retire soon and move on alone. Story 13. I am not married, but I was no longer attracted to my ex because she grew into a fat, loud-mouthed, ungrateful woman who overworked me and took my kindness for granted. Story 14. Still love my wife, but her weight gain has been crazy. She is over 220 pounds and does absolutely nothing about it. I try to tell her to start caring about her health and mention working out together. Story 15. Got divorced a few years ago. She complained I didn't communicate, but looking back, everything I communicated was used against me. Mix in the lack of accountability, and I saw her as an evil person. The fact that she's now 40 pounds heavier and has a swollen face, my physical attraction would have decreased eventually too. Story 16. The ex-wife had an overwhelming urge to control things around her. One of my hobbies is writing. I could be writing a story, and she would try to tell me how to write it. I could get a new video game, and she would want to play it first so she could teach me how to play it. I tended to write when she was not around because I found it nearly impossible to write around her, regardless of whether she was watching what I was doing. Personality always tempers my judgment of appearance. A woman could be a 10 worthy of a catwalk, but if she has a vile personality, it will tank my judgment of her looks as well as her personality. Story 17. 45 and not married, but I have been with my partner for 8 years. Due to our own pasts, we have no intention of marrying again. When we first met, I never really found her that physically attractive, but we had many personality connections that I had never had with anyone prior other than physical, so we connected. After 8 years, I realized she is not attractive in the common sense, but she has things about her that I find anywhere from adorable, her smile, to hot, her butt. The overall package is not there, but I am sure mine is not either. I am a mid-40s male and have not taken care of myself in years either. For our ages, she is 10 years older. I do not find it a problem. Yes, sure, when I look at adult content it is of more attractive women, same as when she looks at adult content it is more manly men, and we look at it together and do not judge. But the intimacy is amazing, mainly because we know how to satisfy each other. In my past, I have had very attractive women who could not do anything for me more than I did for them. So I would not trade this now for then, no matter how attractive they were. Story 18. Ex-wife. Managed to get out of the relationship fog and was flipping through pictures of us together. And all I was thinking was, man, who is this ugly person standing next to me? It's pretty weird how your mind can do a complete turnaround when you're no longer in love with them. Story 19. Divorced now. I wasn't attracted to her at the end because she was mean as hell. She thought so incredibly highly of herself that it was just an absolute turn-off. See, she cared so much about her appearance that she would do really unattractive things to preserve her look. For example, she always wore lipstick, and to maintain it, she would eat and drink in a way that made her face look really stupid to avoid smudging the lipstick. I should say that conventionally she was pretty attractive, but she just did really unattractive things. She let that obsession with her looks take over, though, and she got a bunch of needless work done on her face. Now, she looks absolutely ridiculous, so I dodged a bullet. Story 20. My wife is beautiful and sexy, but there is no spark. Sex is boring, and she can never be satisfied with anything. We're at the point where if I say up, she says no, it's down. I can't do it any longer. Story 21. I've always been into larger women, but she has gotten to be too much. She was probably around 220 pounds when we met 15 years ago. But these days, she is nearly 300 pounds. Combined with having to get knee surgery last year that has done nothing to solve her knee pain issues, going anywhere is aggravating. She moves so slowly, and I am always having to wait for her. Losing weight would probably do wonders for the problem, and she acknowledges that she should lose weight, but does not want to put the effort into it. Her weight combined with her knee problems means sex is basically just missionary. It has gotten routine and boring. I have started having trouble maintaining an erection and achieving orgasm during sex. I could never divorce her, though. It would absolutely destroy her. She is still in love with me, and I am close with the rest of her family. Aside from her lack of willingness to put effort into weight loss, she is a great person. Kind, emotionally mature, does not play mind games, educated, sensible, and more. Story 22. Well, you might be the problem too. Hard facts. If you don't help each other properly to be equal and comfortable, then there's your answer. My wife is a borderline narcissist or maybe a sociopath. I'm not joking. I'm very fortunate to be where I am now. I miss my kids though. Story 23. For what it's worth, it's Monday morning, and reading through this thread has made me feel so much better. I laugh so hard at times. I have a million brothers globally. Thank you so much. I feel so miserable with the woman that this is exactly what I needed. Story 24. I'd say it just comes and goes. We're middle-aged, so amorous feelings in general aren't as strong as when we were younger. However, it periodically comes back, and we'll be at each other like rabbits. That said, I love my wife deeply, and I wouldn't have my life any other way. We're just getting old. And there's plenty that you can do to slow down or mitigate getting old, but it'll get all of us if we live long enough. Of course, I haven't given up. I exercise, eat right, and take supplements to help with being a bit more amorous, and so does she. Story 25. Nothing positive for Memorial Day weekend. Interesting thing I discovered working in the behavioral field regarding self-awareness. This is for men and women. We can come up with a detailed list of how our partners contributed to the downfall of our relationships. We can come up with reasons why we are no longer attracted to them and all of the things that they are doing wrong. However, we become dumbfounded if we have to answer why our partners would find us unattractive. We are clueless as to why they no longer like us or our own role in the downfall of our relationship. We are so aware of what other people are doing wrong and how their behaviors contribute to a problem but lack clarity on our own behaviors. It's interesting that in platforms like Ask Men and those geared towards women, we don't see questions like, what are we doing to make our partners less attracted to us? What is my role in our relationship problems?